Is it true that the Chinese Air Force is a copy of the Russian Air Force? Some of Beijing's best jets have Russian DNA. Here's what you need to remember: China continues to acquire Russian jets, although this is largely to get technology in the latest version of the flanker, Su-35. China acquired the aircraft in December 2015. Supposedly, the main item of interest was the improvement of engines on this aircraft, following China's failure to obtain a license to produce certain parts and its own difficulties in producing clones from the original Su-27 SK engine for J-11. The Sukhoi Su-27 flanker was never planned to be exported when it was originally developed, unlike its lighter cousin, the MiG-29. However, since being approved for export, it has become one of the most popular fighters exports in the Asian region. The first customer for the Su-27 was China, which got a procurement agreement while the Soviet Union was still around. But how did Beijing achieve this? The initial success of Su-27 exports began with the melting of Sino-Soviet, which melted in 1989. During Gorbachev's visit to China in May 1989, various movements were undertaken to reopen the Sino-Soviet military trade. This was followed by an interview published in a magazine in September 1989 which stated that there would be no political obstacle for China to get MiG-29 fighters. In May 1990, a Chinese delegation visited the Soviet Union to discuss the acquisition of sophisticated aircraft. The delegation witnessed the demonstration of MiG-29, Su-27 and various helicopters. Soviet handlers tried to push the MiG-29 into the Chinese delegation, showing the long history of Chinese adoption and adaptation to MiG aircraft. However, after seeing the demonstration, the Chinese delegation wanted the Su-27. The reasons cited are the greater battle radius than the Su-27, the sophisticated fly-by-wire system compared to the simple MiG-29 hydraulic control, and the superior engine performance of the Su-27 in raw power and operational life. This will provide the best platform on which future improvements can be built, modern bases, where the next generation of Chinese tactical aircraft will use it. Given the significant modernization and improvement program in China for MiG-21, J-7 in Chinese services, needed by the old Sino-Soviet split, the Chinese industrial base had significant experience in modifying and improving Soviet designs. The Chinese leadership may feel that Sukhoi's superlative aerodynamic capabilities and large aircraft make it most suitable for such experiments and enhancements, compared to MiG. While the Soviets refused, the economic problems at that time might have made them highlight the procurement of the Chinese Su-27. Chinese sources are directed more at the spirit of fraternal cooperation and the need to make amends after cold long-term relations, but economic incentives seem more likely. After negotiations in the winter of 1990, China signed an agreement to buy 24 Su-27 SK and Su-27 UBK fighters, K which indicates Kitai, meaning Chinese. Despite the collapse of the Soviet Union, President Boris Yeltsin still respected this arrangement, and the first fighters were sent on June 27, 1992. But this is not enough for China. Recognizing the terrible economic difficulties faced by Russia in the 1990s, they pushed for the transfer of Su-27 technology, including full production lines. This was also approved in 1995. China then began producing the Su-27 license as J-11. This strategy seems to have paid off for China, because it seems that one of the initial goals of adopting the Su-27 is to have a sophisticated chassis, where Chinese technology can be adopted and developed. We can see this in spades in a myriad of J-11 versions that China has released in recent years. J-11B is equipped with AESA radar, composite components, Chinese glass cockpit and Chinese engines. J-16D represents Chinese efforts to make EU aircraft similar to Growler EA-18G. Unlike India, which opened the MMRCA program to find multirole warplanes because it was assumed the Su-30 Mki was incapable of being a true multiroles, the J-11 could use various Chinese ground attack ammunition, including the Chinese version of America. Small diameter bomb. Russian equipment is constantly being replaced, from oxygen generators to radar warning receivers. Despite these advances, China continues to acquire Russian jets, though this is largely in order to acquire technologies in the latest versions of the flanker, the Su-35. China acquired these aircraft in December 2015. Supposedly, the primary item of interest is the improved engines in these aircraft, following China's failure to get a license to produce that specific part and its own difficulties in producing clones of the original Su-27SK engines for the J-11. Regardless, the reasons for China's adoption of the Su-27 stand, Beijing wanted the top-performing fighter with the best technology from which it could learn, and got it.